Every choice made, every word spoken, and every silent thought harbored throughout a lifetime serves as a slow, meticulous preparation for the moment a person is called to lead. This journey does not begin with a formal title or a grand ceremony in a corporate glass tower. It starts in the quiet recesses of the mind, where the habits of a character are forged long before the world takes notice. Imagine a landscape where the sunrise of responsibility begins to touch every corner of a life. From the chaotic energy of a large family home to the focused intensity of a local startup. In this world, leadership is not a singular destination but a multifaceted art form appearing in countless shapes and sizes, often hidden in plain sight. It is found in the parent who orchestrates the complex rhythm of a household, the volunteer who breathes life into a community project under the moonlight, and the coach who guides a group of children on a grassy field in the home region. The air is thick with the anticipation of growth, yet there is a profound truth that many fail to grasp. The very actions that led to a person's success yesterday may be the very things that hinder their transformation today. The setting is a vast, interconnected global stage where the call for direction has never been more deafening. From the bustling corridors of power in the American continent to the innovative hubs of Europe, there is an unspoken yearning for individuals who can rise above the noise. The atmosphere is one of transition, where the old ways of simply doing are being challenged by the higher calling of leading. The narrative begins not with a set of instructions, but with an invitation to look inward, to examine the armor one has worn for years. This armor, polished by past victories and hard-earned achievements, feels sturdy and reliable. Yet, as the threshold of a new role is crossed, the weight of this protection begins to feel different. It is a moment of profound realization. The path ahead requires a shedding of the old self to make room for a version of leadership that the world is desperately waiting to see. The question that hangs in the air, vibrating with a quiet tension, is whether one is truly ready to abandon the safety of past excellence for the uncertainty of future influence. And as the sun sets on a career of individual brilliance, a new horizon emerges, filled with the complexities of human connection and the weight of collective responsibility. The protagonist of this story is not a single person, but the universal figure of the high performer, someone who has mastered their craft with such precision that they have become synonymous with results. They move through the world with the confidence of one who knows how to win, unaware that the rules of the game are about to change entirely. The environment is rich with sensory details. The hum of a busy office, the sharp clicking of a keyboard, the adrenaline of a closed deal. These are the sounds of a comfort zone that is about to be shattered. The narrative invites the listener to sit in that space of transition, where the echoes of past applause are still ringing, but the silence of the next challenge is beginning to settle in. There is a subtle, creeping suspicion that the very skills that brought them to this peak might not be enough to carry them across the next valley. This is a story about the unseen gravity of success, a force that can ground a person just as they are meant to take flight. It explores the paradoxical nature of growth, where the greatest obstacle to a new beginning is often the perfection of the previous chapter. The stage is set for a deep exploration of the human psyche under the pressure of promotion, where the stakes are not just professional, but deeply personal. It is a journey that will take the listener through the heart of high-pressure sales floors in Latin America, the quiet laboratories of tech giants, and the disciplined halls of financial institutions. Everywhere the same struggle unfolds. The tension between the I and the we, between the mastery of a task and the stewardship of a soul. As the narrative begins to unfold, it carries with it a warning and a promise that the true measure of a leader is not found in what they can do alone, but in what they can inspire others to become, though the price of this realization is often higher than anyone expects. The world outside the individual's immediate sphere is a complex tapestry of challenges, where the need for authentic leadership is felt in every sector of society. In the halls of governance, leaders struggle to find a stable focus, not only for the communities they serve, but for their own internal structures. Many find themselves unable to even complete the terms they were elected to fulfill, lost in a sea of shifting priorities and public scrutiny. In the business world, companies of all scales, from small local enterprises to massive conglomerates in England and across the American continent, are navigating a landscape defined by unprecedented competition and complexity. Management teams, once confident in their strategies, now find themselves grasping for results that seem increasingly elusive. Even in the realm of sports, the search for consistency is a relentless battle, with teams cycling through coaches and trainers in a desperate bid to find the right chemistry. The atmosphere is one of frantic searching, a global search for a steady hand and a clear vision that can weather the storms of modernity. This global context provides the backdrop for a more intimate struggle. The sector of public service, often underfunded and overstretched, faces educational systems that are faltering and hospitals operating at the very edge of their capacity. The lack of effective leadership in these crucial areas creates a ripple effect that touches every life, emphasizing that the crisis of leadership is not just a corporate concern, but a societal one. The scandals frequently break across the news, serving as harsh reminders of the fragility of trust when leadership falters. These failures are not confined to the headlines. They are felt in local churches facing crises of faith, and in family units that have become battlegrounds of internal conflict. This pervasive instability creates a narrative tension, a collective breath held in anticipation of someone who can step forward and lead with integrity and skill. It is within this broader, somewhat fractured world that the individual's journey toward leadership takes on its true significance, moving from a personal ambition to a vital contribution. When people are asked to visualize a successful leader, their minds often drift toward the visible and the grand, figures whose names are etched into the history of global industry or those who command the attention of the world's media. They think of the visionary founders who transformed entire markets or the charismatic figures who led with a flourish. However, the true landscape of leadership is far more diverse and grounded. It includes the quiet coordinator of a school's curriculum, the dedicated president of a neighborhood association, or the partner in a marriage who holds the family together through quiet strength. The narrative shifts its focus to these less visible but equally crucial roles, suggesting that the essence of leadership is universal, regardless of the platform. Whether it is a member of an executive board in a major financial hub or a person managing a small group of volunteers, the core requirements, inspiration, organization, and motivation, remain the same. This realization bridges the gap between the monumental and the everyday, making the path to leadership accessible yet demanding. There is a profound realization that a vast number of people possess an arsenal of tools they never fully utilize. They have advantages and skills that remain dormant, tucked away in the shadows of their own self-doubt or overshadowed by a reliance on their weaknesses. Many high achievers cling to the very traits that prevent them from progressing further, holding onto the safety of their current competencies like a life raft in a changing sea. This creates a fascinating thematic landscape, the struggle between the comfort of who we are and the potential of who we could be. The narrative begins to move forward by highlighting this internal friction, setting the stage for a transformation that requires deep reflection and a willingness to grow. The journey is not just about acquiring new techniques, but about exploring how one wishes to be remembered by those they have led. It is an invitation to consider the legacy of one's influence, sparking a curiosity about the hidden potential that lies within the high performer and the barriers they must overcome to truly ascend. In the heart of every organization, there are individuals who stand out like beacons of efficiency. The sales stars whose numbers are always the highest, the software engineers whose code is flawless, and the accountants whose precision is legendary. These are the key characters in our narrative, the top performers who have built their identities on the foundation of their own excellence. They are the heroes of their own stories, celebrated for their individual contributions and rewarded for their relentless focus on personal success. Take, for instance, the high-performance salesperson who is 100% focused on their own targets. They move with a singular drive, their world revolving around the next close and the next commission. In their current role, they are a force of nature, but the very traits that make them successful, their competitive spirit and self-reliance, are the very things that will soon be tested. There is an inherent tension in their success, a quiet conflict between their current brilliance and the requirements of the role that likely awaits them in the hierarchy. Then there is the dedicated software engineer, a master of logic who thrives in the quiet solitude of their own thoughts. They are accustomed to solving the most complex problems by retreating into themselves, relying on their introspective nature to navigate the labyrinth of digital architecture. Their world is one of self-sufficiency, where the input of others is often seen as a distraction rather than an asset. This character represents the deep expertise that organizations value, yet they are often the most vulnerable when the transition to leadership occurs. The narrative introduces the silent struggle of this introverted genius, who may soon be asked to step out of the shadows of their screen and into the spotlight of human management. The conflict here is internal and philosophical. Can a person whose strength lies in isolation find a new way to thrive in a role that demands constant, inspiring communication? The story begins to pulse with this friction, highlighting the mismatch between technical mastery and the soft skills required to lead. Consider also the workaholic accountant, a person for whom every decimal point is a matter of life and death. Their meticulous nature has made them indispensable, but it has also created a habit of control that is difficult to break. They are the ones who stay late, ensuring every detail is perfect, often because they do not trust anyone else to match their standard of excellence. When such a person is promoted to a financial manager, the conflict becomes immediate and external. They find themselves unable to delegate, haunted by the fear that a task not done by their own hand is a task destined for failure. Even when they do hand over responsibility, they remain tethered to the work through micromanagement, stifling the growth of their team. This dynamic creates a stifling atmosphere, where the leader's past excellence becomes a cage for the subordinate's potential. The narrative signals a move toward a deeper problem. The promotion of the most skilled person in the room often leads to the most dysfunctional department. Finally, we encounter the most enthusiastic and dominant member of a marketing team, a person whose energy is infectious and whose visibility is high. They are admired from a distance by those above them in the hierarchy, seen as a natural leader due to their charisma and drive. However, those who work alongside them see a different story, an ego that is too large for the room, a person who talks more than they listen, and someone who is ultimately concerned with their own glory. When this person is placed in a position of authority, the team's reaction is not one of loyalty, but of quiet rebellion. The conflict here is social and emotional. The leader's desire for visibility clashes with the team's need for support and recognition. This character serves as a stark example of how past popularity and individual drive can be misinterpreted as leadership potential. As these archetypes are established, the story moves toward the central tension that will drive the narrative. The dangerous assumption that the best doers will naturally become the best leaders, and the inevitable friction that arises when this assumption is put to the test. The transition from being an individual contributor to a leader is often described as a climb, but for many, it feels more like stepping into a different world where the gravity pulls in a completely new direction. The rising stakes of this transition are rooted in a common but devastating phenomenon: being promoted to one's level of incompetence. This concept suggests that in a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to their level of incompetence, where their previous skills no longer serve the requirements of their new position. The narrative deepens as it explores the fallout of this reality. A person who was once a celebrated star, a symbol of success and reliability, suddenly finds themselves drowning in a sea of complexity they were never trained to handle. The workload increases, but it is no longer just about the quantity of tasks. It is about the quality of relationships and the weight of decisions that affect others. The emotional stakes are raised as the fear of failure begins to gnaw at the edges of their once unshakable confidence. As the momentum of the story builds, we see the early friction manifest in the daily lives of these new leaders. The salesperson, once the master of their own destiny, now spends their days in meetings, trying to motivate a team whose struggles they find frustratingly simple. They long to grab the phone and do the job themselves, believing that their intervention is the only way to save the numbers. This internal battle, the urge to do versus the necessity to coach, creates a mounting tension that ripples through the department. The team senses the leader's lack of trust, and the leader senses the team's growing resentment. It is a collision course of expectations, where the leader's past victories are being used as a yardstick that no one else can measure up to. The conceptual stakes are heightened as the narrative explores the tragedy of a high performer who is failing not because they aren't working hard, but because they are working hard at the wrong things. In the quiet offices of the tech world, the once brilliant engineer turned manager is facing a different kind of mounting pressure. They are tasked with communicating a vision, with inspiring a group of diverse individuals to align toward a common goal. But the language of code does not translate to the language of human emotion. The early friction here is marked by silences that are too long, instructions that are too cold, and a lack of connection that leaves the team feeling rudderless. The leader feels isolated, a stranger in a role they thought they had earned. This layer of the story highlights the conceptual shift from technical mastery to emotional intelligence, a shift that many fail to make. The narrative momentum propels us toward a critical point where the character must either adapt or be consumed by the demands of their new environment. The stakes are no longer just about a project's success. They are about the leader's very identity and their future within the organization. Meanwhile, the meticulous accountant, now a manager, is creating a bottleneck that threatens to paralyze the entire finance department. Their inability to let go of the details has turned their team into a group of passive observers, waiting for a sign-off that takes forever to come. The friction is palpable. The team is capable, but they are being smothered by a leader who cannot distinguish between oversight and interference. This mounting tension raises the emotional stakes for the entire group, as morale begins to plummet and the best talent starts to look for the exit. The narrative highlights a crucial realization. A leader who cannot trust their team is a leader who will eventually be crushed by the weight of their own control. As we move toward the next phase of the story, the momentum is driven by the realization that these individual failures are not just personal tragedies, but systemic risks. The story is now weaved into a larger exploration of how organizations in Europe, Latin America, and beyond must rethink the way they identify and nurture their future leaders, or risk losing their best people to the trap of past success. To truly understand the depth of this struggle, one must look closely at the emotional texture of the leader's daily life, where the shift from me to we is not just a change in vocabulary, but a profound transformation of the heart. The narrative expands through scenes of quiet reflection, where the leader sits alone after a long day, realizing that despite their best efforts, the team is not thriving. There is a thematic symbol in the empty chair across the desk, a representation of the person the leader needs to be for their team, but hasn't yet become. The dialogue in these moments is often internal, a series of questions that challenge the very core of their self-worth. They wonder why the praise they used to receive for their own work has been replaced by the heavy silence of a team that feels neglected or controlled. This exploration of the leader's inner world adds a layer of vulnerability to the story, making the character's journey more than just a professional transition. It is a search for a new kind of meaning in their work. In these moments of development, the story highlights the subtle shifts in tone that occur when a leader begins to recognize their own limitations. There is a scene, perhaps in a bustling metropolis in the American continent, where the sales manager finally stops talking and starts listening to a struggling team member. In that silence, a new rhythm is established. The leader begins to see that their role is not to be the hero of every sale, but to be the architect of the team's success. This realization is a turning point, marked by a move away from the adrenaline of the close and toward the deeper satisfaction of seeing someone else grow. The thematic focus shifts to the idea of delegation not just as a task management tool, but as an act of trust and empowerment. It is a difficult, slow-moving change, like turning a massive ship in a narrow harbor, but it is the only way to avoid the rocks of incompetence. The narrative weaves in the emotional subtext of this change, the fear of being forgotten if they aren't the ones doing the work, and the eventual peace that comes from knowing they are building something larger than themselves. The story also explores the intellectual progression of the leader as they begin to study the art of leadership with the same intensity they once applied to their technical craft. They start to understand that their emotions are no longer just their own, they are a climate that affects everyone in the room. A leader's frustration can dampen the entire office, while their calm can be an anchor in a storm. This realization brings a new level of responsibility to their daily actions. They learn to control their reactions, to be mindful of the impact of their words, and to cultivate a presence that invites others to contribute. The narrative captures the pacing of this growth. The small victories of a well-handled conflict, the quiet pride in a team member's breakthrough, and the gradual shedding of the need for personal credit. These scenes are portrayed with a vividness that allows the listener to feel the weight of the leader's evolution, moving from a position of dominance to one of service. As this deep exploration continues, the narrative reveals a subtle shift in the leader's perspective on potential. They begin to see that high performance in a current role is a poor predictor of success in a more complex one, both for themselves and for those they manage. They start to look for different qualities: the ability to collaborate, the humility to learn, and the courage to let others take the lead. This conceptual development is mirrored in their own behavior as they seek out mentors and ask for feedback, admitting that the skills that brought them here won't take them there. The closing beat of this section is one of quiet realization. The true power of a leader lies not in their authority, but in their ability to make themselves unnecessary by building a team that can thrive without their constant interference. This shift in tone from the frantic energy of the earlier parts to a more reflective, grounded pace prepares the listener for the complications that are about to arise as these new ideals are put to the ultimate test in the real world. The path to transformation is rarely linear, and as the new leader begins to embrace these higher ideals, a fresh set of complications emerges to challenge their resolve. The world of leadership is not a laboratory where new behaviors are always met with immediate positive results. It is a messy, unpredictable arena where old habits and external pressures constantly push back. A significant complication arises when the organization's own culture continues to reward the very behaviors the leader is trying to leave behind. For example, a company in Europe might still offer the biggest bonuses for individual sales, even while tasking managers with team development. This contradiction creates a new layer of tension. How can a leader focus on the we when the system is still screaming for the me? The leader is tested by this paradox, forced to choose between the safety of the old metrics and the integrity of their new vision. This conflict deepens the narrative, showing that leadership is as much about fighting the system as it is about managing people. Furthermore, the team themselves may offer unexpected resistance to the leader's change in style. A team that has grown accustomed to a micromanaging accountant may feel lost and anxious when suddenly given autonomy. They might mistake the leader's new trust for a lack of interest or a shirking of responsibility. This contradiction is a bitter pill for the leader to swallow. They are trying to do the right thing, but it is causing more friction than the wrong thing ever did. The narrative allows the character to be questioned and pushed, exploring the frustration of a leader who feels they are failing at being good just as much as they failed at being bad. The tension in this section is unresolved, reflecting the reality that change often feels worse before it feels better. The leader must navigate this period of instability, where the old structures have been dismantled, but the new ones aren't yet strong enough to support the weight of the team's needs. Another layer of complication is introduced through the character of the dominant marketing leader, who finds that their attempts at humility are seen by their peers as a loss of edge. In the competitive environments of high-stakes industries, charisma and dominance are often equated with strength. When this leader begins to listen more and talk less, they face a backlash from their own superiors who worry they have lost their drive. This challenges the leader's very identity. Is it possible to be both humble and powerful? The conflict is no longer just between the leader and their team, but between the leader and the entire hierarchy above them. They are being pushed to revert to their old, ego-driven ways to satisfy the expectations of those who promoted them. This creates a moment of profound testing, where the leader must decide if they are willing to risk their own standing for the sake of their team's health. As these complications mount, the story moves toward its peak, with the leader feeling the pressure from all sides. The team is skeptical, the superiors are concerned, and the old habits are whispering that it would be so much easier to just go back to the way things were. The narrative captures the weight of this unresolved tension, the feeling of being caught in the middle of a bridge that is beginning to sway in a storm. The stakes are now higher than ever, as the leader's commitment to their new mindset is no longer just a philosophical choice, but a daily battle for survival. The atmosphere is thick with the possibility of collapse, as the listener is invited to consider whether any individual can truly change in a world that is designed to keep them exactly as they are. This sense of impending crisis propels the narrative toward its climax, where a single decision or event will determine if the leader will ascend to true greatness or fall back into the safety of their own incompetence. The intensity of the story begins to reach a fever pitch as the pressure on the leader becomes almost unbearable. In the high-stakes environments of the American continent and beyond, the end-of-year results are looming, and the new leader's department is under the microscope. Every decision is now magnified, every interaction scrutinized. The pacing of the narrative quickens, reflecting the rapid-fire demands of the modern workplace. The leader finds themselves at a crossroads where the old self and the new self are in direct, violent competition. They can feel the gravitational pull of their past victories, the urge to step in, to take over, to be the star once again and save the day through sheer force of will. But they also feel the weight of the promise they made to themselves and their team. To lead differently, the sense of inevitability grows. Something has to give. The narrative emphasizes the mounting pressure, the feeling of a spring being coiled tighter and tighter, waiting for the moment of release. In the quiet of their office, the leader stares at a report that shows their team is still falling short of the targets. Their superior has just left, after a conversation filled with thinly veiled threats about performance and return on investment. The weight of what is about to happen settles over the leader like a heavy shroud. They realize that the true climax of their journey isn't a grand speech or a heroic gesture, but a quiet, agonizing choice made in the face of fear. Will they sacrifice the long-term growth of their team for the short-term safety of a met target? The stakes are crystallized in this moment. It is a battle for the soul of their leadership. The narrative focuses on the internal emotional focus of the leader, the racing heart, the sweat on the palms, the crushing realization that they are truly alone in this decision. The intensity is not in the noise, but in the silence of the consequence. Across the hall, the team is also feeling the pressure. They see the leaders struggle, and they are waiting to see which version of the boss will walk through the door. Will it be the micromanager they have come to resent, or the leader they have begun to hope for? The tension between the leader and the group has reached a point of no return. The atmosphere is thick with the sense that a turning point is imminent, an event that will redefine their relationship forever. The narrative uses sharp, detailed descriptions to heighten the sense of drama. The flickering fluorescent lights, the muffled sounds of the office, the way the clock on the wall seems to be ticking louder with every passing second. The inevitability of the confrontation is palpable, as the leader prepares to face the team with the news of their performance and the reality of the stakes involved. And as the story moves toward its peak, the narrative draws together all the threads of conflict. The internal battle of the accountant, the social struggle of the marketer, the intellectual challenge of the engineer. All these archetypes are converging on a single moment of truth. The weight of past victories is now a burden, a reminder of a time when things were simpler but less meaningful. The climax is not just a professional event. It is a spiritual one, a test of character that will determine the trajectory of their entire life. The sense of mounting pressure is replaced by a strange, cold clarity. The leader realizes that to succeed, they must be willing to fail in the eyes of the old world. They must be willing to let go of the control they have spent a career perfecting. The narrative closes this section on the precipice of that decision, leaving the listener in a state of breathless anticipation for the revelation that is about to change everything. The turning point arrives not with a bang, but with a profound and quiet surrender. In a high-stakes meeting room, perhaps in a financial hub in Europe or a tech center in Latin America, the leader stands before their team and their superiors. The data on the screen is clear: they are behind. The old version of the leader would have spent the next hour making excuses, blaming others, or outlining a plan where they would personally oversee every minute detail to fix the problem. But in this moment, the climax of the narrative, the leader does something that shocks the room. They admit, with a humility that is both jarring and powerful, that their own desire for control and their reliance on their past skills are the primary reasons for the team's current struggles. This revelation is the emotional peak of the chapter, a public dismantling of the ego that has served as the leader's shield for so long. It is a moment of raw, human vulnerability that changes the air in the room, shifting the trajectory of the story from a narrative of failure to one of profound transformation. In this act of admitting that the skills that brought them here are not enough to take them there is a radical departure from the traditional image of a strong leader. The team members who had braced themselves for a lecture or a crackdown find their defenses melting away. The superior, who had come prepared to fire a warning shot, is silenced by the honesty of the confession. The leader goes further, explicitly delegating the power to solve the problem to the team, admitting that they don't have all the answers and that they trust the collective wisdom of the group more than their own. This is the moment where the I finally dies and the we is born. The narrative captures the intensity of this sequence, the way the power dynamic in the room shifts from top-down authority to a horizontal collaboration. It is a revelation that redefines what it means to be successful, no longer measured by personal output, but by the ability to create a space where others can excel. The immediate aftermath of this confession is a sense of collective release. The team, once paralyzed by the leader's micromanagement, begins to speak up, offering insights and solutions that had been suppressed for months. The engineer-turned-manager watches as their team starts to communicate with a fluidity they never could have forced. The accountant sees their subordinates taking ownership of the details with a precision that exceeds their own. This is the resolution of the internal and external conflicts that have driven the story. By letting go, the leader has finally gained the influence they were so desperately chasing. The transformation is not just in the leader's actions, but in the team's reaction. The narrative portrays this sequence with an emotionally gripping focus, allowing the listener to experience the profound shift from a climate of fear and control to one of trust and agency. As the meeting ends, the leader is left with a sense of clarity they have never known. They are no longer the star performer whose worth is tied to their own metrics. They are a leader whose value is reflected in the eyes of their people. The transformation is complete, but it is a beginning, not an end. The story transitions into a new phase where the consequences of this revelation will begin to play out in the real world. The weight of the moment lingers, a reminder that the most difficult victories are not won against competitors, but against the ghosts of one's own past. The climax of the narrative serves as a powerful testament to the idea that true leadership requires a death of the old self to allow for the birth of a new, more expansive way of being. It is a moment of transition that leaves the leader and the listener changed, with a new understanding of what it truly takes to guide others toward a shared horizon. In the immediate wake of this seismic shift, a profound silence often settles over the landscape. It is the silence that follows a storm, where the air is clear and the ground is damp, but everything feels different. The leader walks back to their office, but the path feels changed. The heavy burden of having to be the smartest person in the room has been lifted, replaced by a strange, lightheaded sensation of freedom. The first wave of consequences is internal, a raw emotional shift from the exhaustion of maintaining an image to the relief of being seen. This aftermath is a time of processing, where the weight of the confession begins to settle. The leader realizes that by admitting their limitations, they have actually increased their authority. They are no longer a figure to be feared or outmaneuvered. They are a human being who has earned the right to lead through honesty. The narrative captures this quiet moment of space, allowing the significance of the event to sink in. Externally, the first wave of consequences ripples through the team. There is a newfound energy in the office, a buzz of conversation that is no longer whispered in shadows but shared openly in the light. The team members are testing their new wings, taking on tasks with a sense of ownership that was previously impossible. This situational shift is dramatic. Projects that were stalled for weeks suddenly begin to move forward with a momentum that seems almost magical. The leader watches from a distance, resisting the urge to step in even when a mistake is made. This is the true test of the aftermath, maintaining the new boundaries of trust when the old habits of control try to creep back in. The narrative captures the tension of this restraint, the quiet struggle to stay out of the work so the team can stay in it. It is a period of adjustment where everyone is learning the new choreography of their roles. There is also a shift in the way the leader is perceived by their peers and superiors. The confession in the meeting room has created a new kind of reputation, one of courage and strategic humility. In the competitive corridors of organizations in England or the American continent, such a move is rare and therefore highly visible. The leader's peers begin to approach them not with professional rivalry, but with a quiet curiosity, wanting to understand the source of this newfound effectiveness. The aftermath of the climax has transformed the leader into a model for others, even before the final results are in. This situational change highlights the narrative's broader theme, that leadership is an act of influence that begins with self-mastery. The air of suspicion that once hung over the department has been replaced by an air of possibility, a sense that something new and better is being built on the ruins of the old hierarchy. As the first few days pass, the leader realizes that the consequences of their transformation are not all easy. There is the challenge of managing the new expectations of their team and the pressure to ensure that this new way produces the results the organization demands. Yet there is a sense of peace that wasn't there before. The raw emotional shift has settled into a steady resolve. The narrative provides a breath of space here, a pause in the action to reflect on the cost and the reward of the journey. The leader is no longer the same person who started this path, and the world around them has adjusted to accommodate this new reality. This period of aftermath is a crucial bridge between the drama of the climax and the stability of the resolution, a time for the weight of events to settle and for the new identity of the leader to take firm root in the soil of their daily life. As the weeks turn into months, the immediate shock of the transformation gives way to a deeper, more enduring resolution. The department that was once a source of constant stress and bottlenecking has become a vibrant hub of productivity. The lessons learned in the heat of the climax have been integrated into the daily rhythm of the work. The transformation is no longer a single event, but a consistent practice. The internal shift in the leader has manifested as an external reality. The team is now a high-performing unit that reflects the leader's trust rather than their control. This part of the narrative explores the settling of the new order, where the quiet aftermath of the main event reveals the true extent of the change. The leader has moved from being a manager of tasks to a leader of people, and the results are visible not just in the metrics, but in the morale and growth of every individual in their charge. A key element of this resolution is the leader's newfound ability to separate performance from potential. They now look at their team through a different lens, recognizing that the person who is currently the best at their job might not be the best candidate for the next promotion. This insight, drawn from their own painful experience, allows them to guide their subordinates with a wisdom that is rare in the corporate world. They begin to have different kinds of conversations, not just about this week's targets, but about long-term aspirations, character development, and the skills needed for the next level of leadership. This internal transformation in the leader's mindset is the most significant consequence of the climax. They have become a mentor, a creator of future leaders, fulfilling the true purpose of their role. The narrative highlights this shift as the ultimate resolution of the story's central question: how to grow beyond one's own success. The deeper consequences of this shift are also felt in the leader's own life. They no longer carry the crushing weight of workaholism or the constant need for personal validation. By giving credit to the team, they have found a deeper satisfaction that the old star performer never knew. Their relationships with their peers have improved, as they are no longer seen as a threat but as a collaborator. Even their life outside of work has been affected, as the emotional control and empathy they practiced in the office begin to spill over into their personal interactions. The narrative creates a seamless transition toward closure by showing that the journey of leadership is ultimately a journey of self-actualization. The transformation is holistic, changing not just how they work, but how they exist in the world. The lesson of the chapter, that past victories can be a trap, has been fully absorbed and turned into a guiding principle for the future. As the story nears its end, the atmosphere is one of calm and settled strength. The leader is no longer afraid of their level of incompetence, because they have learned how to grow, how to ask for help, and how to empower others. They have successfully navigated the most dangerous transition of their career and emerged as the kind of leader others admire and want to learn from. The resolution is not just about a project's success, but about the enduring internal change that allows a person to face any future challenge with humility and confidence. The narrative has come full circle, from the initial struggle of the top performer to the quiet mastery of the true leader. The final transition toward closure is natural and inevitable, as the weight of the story's events settles into a coherent and powerful message about the true nature of success and the endless possibility of human growth. The journey from individual excellence to collective leadership is a story that echoes across all cultures and industries. From the bustling markets of Latin America to the disciplined corporate boards of Europe, It is a narrative that speaks to the fundamental human challenge of growth, the necessity of letting go of what we know to become what we are meant to be. The key threads of this story, the trap of past victories, the fallacy of promoting based on performance alone, and the radical power of humility, all converge into a single, coherent reflection. True leadership is not about the accumulation of power or the perfection of a craft, but about the expansion of one's influence through the empowerment of others. It is a philosophical shift from the I to the we, a transition that requires a level of courage and self-awareness that few are willing to cultivate. This synthesis of the chapter's themes illuminates the broader significance of the journey, showing that the struggle of the leader is the struggle of any person seeking to transcend their own limitations. At its core, this narrative is an exploration of the performance versus potential paradox. It challenges the common belief that being the best at a task naturally qualifies a person to manage those who do that task. This realization is a cornerstone of successful organizations worldwide. By separating current results from future capacity, a leader can avoid the trap of rising to their level of incompetence and help others do the same. This thematic thread is not just about management theory. It is about the fundamental respect for human potential and the understanding that different roles require different souls. The story of the salesperson, the engineer, the accountant, and the marketer all point toward this same truth, that the tools of the past are often the barriers of the future. To lead is to constantly reinvent oneself, to be humble enough to admit when the old ways no longer work, and to be brave enough to learn a new language of connection and trust. In the broader philosophical significance of this journey lies in the idea of leadership as a form of service. The narrative has shown that the most effective leaders are those who are willing to step out of the spotlight so that others can shine. This is not a loss of power, but a transformation of it. Influence, unlike authority, is not a finite resource. It grows as it is shared. By giving credit, providing autonomy, and controlling their own emotional climate, the leader creates a culture where success is a shared experience. This synthesis draws together the emotional and intellectual progression of the story, presenting a vision of leadership that is as much about character as it is about competence. The reflection is clear. The most successful leaders are not those who never fail, but those who are never done growing. They treat every day as an opportunity to reflect on how they wish to be remembered, turning their career into a legacy of development and inspiration. And as we prepare for the final message, the resonant idea that remains is one of endless possibility. The journey of the leader in this narrative is a template for anyone who feels stuck in their own success, trapped by the expectations of their past. It suggests that the path to true greatness is always open to those who are willing to be humble, to listen, and to trust. The synthesis of these ideas creates a sense of clarity and purpose, preparing the listener for a final reflection on the essence of leadership. The story has been more than a retelling of a professional transition. It has been a guide to the human heart under the pressure of responsibility. It leaves us with a profound understanding that while our past successes have brought us to where we are today, only our willingness to evolve will take us to where we need to be tomorrow. The stage is now set for a final, inspiring closing that summarizes the heart of the message and leaves the listener contemplating the quiet power of a leader who has learned to trust the future more than the past. The essence of leadership is a delicate balance between the pride of past achievement and the humility of future growth. As this narrative journey concludes, it leaves behind a clear and resonant truth: that the greatest victories are not those we win alone, but those we enable others to achieve. A successful leader is not someone who has reached a final destination of perfection, but someone who remains a perpetual student of human potential. They understand that their past successes were merely the training ground for the much larger task of building people. The story of the high performer who struggled with their first promotion serves as a universal reminder that we must all be willing to fail at being our old selves to succeed at being our new ones. This is the heart of the transformation, a shift in mindset that turns a solitary career into a collective legacy. Looking back at the landscape of this story, from the individual contributor in the home region to the global stage of leadership, we see that the challenges are the same. Whether in a large family, a local startup, or a multinational corporation in the American continent or England, the call to lead with humility and trust is universal. The lesson is simple but profound. Do not trust in your past victories to carry you through today's challenges. Instead, trust in your ability to adapt, to delegate, and to empower. The true measure of your success will not be found in your own accolades, but in the growth and success of those you lead. This is the enduring lesson that stays with the listener, a call to reflect on their own habits and to consider how they can step back so that their team can step forward. It is a philosophy of leadership that values us over me and potential over performance. In the final moments of reflection, the narrative invites the listener to consider their own legacy. How do you wish to be remembered by those who followed your lead? Was it as someone who held the reins so tightly that no one else could breathe, or as someone who opened doors and created space for others to thrive? The answer to that question determines the true quality of a leader. The journey described here is not a series of easy steps, but a difficult and rewarding climb toward a higher version of oneself. It requires a shedding of ego, a mastery of emotion, and a profound trust in the capabilities of others. This is the path taken by successful leaders worldwide, and it is a path available to anyone willing to take the first step of self-reflection. The story ends with a sense of peace and clarity, a quiet encouragement to embrace the new skills and behaviors that true leadership demands. As the narration closes, the message is one of hope and empowerment. Leadership is not a gift bestowed upon a few. It is a skill developed by many through the trial and error of human connection. By letting go of the need to be the hero, you become something much more powerful. A catalyst for the heroism of others. The silence that follows this story is not empty, but filled with the possibility of what you might become when you stop relying on what you have already done. Let the lessons of this journey settle into your heart, guiding you toward a future where your success is measured by the strength of the community you build and the leaders you leave behind. So the road ahead is wide, and it belongs to those who are humble enough to admit they are just beginning and brave enough to lead the way anyway.